think breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you eat breakfast at 7, so there's 7 cervical. You eat lunch at noon, so there's 12 thoracic, and you're old like me. You eat dinner at 5, so there's 5 lumbar. So 7, 12, 5. Okay, the first 2 vertebrae are special. So this one that kind of looks like, I don't know, a donut, this is called Atlas. If you remember from mythology, Atlas held the world on his shoulders. Well, this holds up your skull. Okay, so they called this one Atlas. And then if you look on page 32, Atlas has its own special list of stuff to find. This is C1, but you don't want to call it C1, you'll say Atlas. Okay, this one is C2, but again, you don't want to call it C2. This is called Axis. How do you know? Because it's got this little thing up that looks like an axis on a globe. This is called the dens. Okay, so this is the axis again. It has its own special list. Now, don't freak out when you look at the vertebrae. It looks like a lot of stuff, but you're basically just repeating the same structures, but on different types of vertebrae. So like vertebral foramen, vertebral foramen, vertebral spine, spine, spine. It's like a lot of them are the same thing. You're just repeating them on different vertebrae. Okay, this one is just a regular old cervical vertebrae. They're the smallest of all the vertebrae. They have this little, it's called a bifid spine. This one's a little broken, but it kind of looks like a snake's tongue on their spinous process here. Okay, this one is, get over there. This one's thoracic. If you look at thoracic, you're looking at it from a posterior view. What animal does that look like? A giraffe head. Everybody see that? The ears, the horns, the nose, giraffe head. So that's thoracic. Again, it's got its own list of stuff to find. How about this one? This is lumbar. What animal does it look like? A moose. You see the moose? The horns, the nose, the ears, the whatever those jolly things are that hang down. Okay, lumbar are the biggest vertebrae. Okay, and again, all of these have their own list, but most of them, it's just the same thing. Body, 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 body. You're just looking at different vertebrae. Okay, the next one. Oh, what type of bones are these? Irregular. Okay, name this bone. Sacrum. What type of bone is it? Irregular. Back here, it has these ridges. These go to the posterior, so it goes like, and when you like this, and it connects to your lumbar vertebrae. Name this bone.
Coccyx.
Coccyx. What type of bone is this? Irregular. You don't have to find just coccyx, irregular. We keep those in the Ziploc bag so they don't get lost. Name this bone. Hyoid. It kind of goes in your neck right here. I think it's irregular, but if you Google it, it's hard to find out. But I'm pretty sure it's irregular. But if anybody finds something different, let me know. Okay. Name this bone. Rib. What type of bone is this? Flat bone. Ribs you have to tell right and left for. So this end that's kind of flat, this is anterior because it's going to attach to cartilage that attaches to this bone, which is the sternum. What type of bone is this? Flat. Okay, so this flat part has to go in the front. And then I usually just kind of feel there's a groove down here on the inside on the inferior side, and this edge is more sharp, where this edge is more kind of rounded, this one's more sharp. So I know the sharp edge goes down. Okay, so if I put it like that, well that doesn't work because the sharp edge is up. I'll put it like, well that doesn't work because the flat part's supposed to be in the front. So this is a right rib. And we have tons of ribs back there, so you can just grab a couple, throw them on the table, figure out if they're right or left. Okay, what bone is this again? Sternum, what type? Flat. If you look at the ribs, it talks about true, false, and floating. So the ribs that basically just go from the rib to cartilage to sternum, those are true. If it goes from a rib to cartilage to more cartilage to the sternum, we call those false. And then these guys have no cartilage attaching to them at all. These are floating. Now we wouldn't just be like, what type of rib is this? Okay, we would give you a skeleton like this where it's attached and you could, you know, look and see. Let's see, did that part. All right, name this bone.
Clavicle.
Clavicle. What type of bone is this?
Long.
Curved long bone. All right. This one's tricky to tell right and left, so I hope you all are taking notes on this and not just staring at me. Okay, the first thing, this part that's more pyramidal shaped, I guess you'd say, versus this end that's flat. This part that's more pyramidal shaped, that goes by your sternum. The flat part goes by your arm. And then there's a bump right here by the flat part. This is called the conoid tubercle. Conoid tubercle, you'll see that on your list for the clavicle. The conoid tubercle has to go posterior and inferior. Conoid tubercle has to go posterior and inferior. Conoid tubercle goes posterior and inferior. So I put like that. Well, that doesn't work because the conoid tubercle is facing up, not inferior. Well, that doesn't work because this is supposed to be by my sternum. So this is a left clavicle. Plus, your clavicle doesn't curve in like this by your sternum. It curves out and then curves in when it gets close to your arm. So this is a left clavicle. Name this bone. Scapula. What type of bone is this? Flat. How do you tell right and left? Well, this is called the spine. It has to go posterior. This is where your arm attaches. How's my arm going to attach there? Nope, spine's in the front. So this is a right scapula. Spine's in the back, humerus attaches over here, where this cavity is. Okay, name this bone. Humerus. This part's the head. It has to go into your scapula, so it has to be medial. And then there's a big divot on the back right here. This is called the olecranon fossa. That has to go posterior. Olecranon fossa, this big fossa right here, has to go posterior. So I put that, well, that doesn't work because that's in the front. It's supposed to be in the back. Well, that doesn't work because the head's facing that way. It's supposed to go into my shoulder. So this is a right radius. Okay, it goes in the scapula, kind of like that. Okay, name this bone. Ulna. See the U? U for ulna. See the U? U for ulna. Is the ulna medial or lateral on your arm? Medial, because remember, anatomical position. So the ulna is on your pinky side. It's medial. Name this bone. Radius. Radius is the lateral bone by your thumb. Okay, how do we tell right and left? Well, one, my elbow, unless it's broken, my elbow has to bend this way, right? Not that way. Okay, so this notch has to be in the front. So my elbow can bend this way. Okay, this big notch here. And then right here, there's a little notch called the radial notch. Guess which way that has to face? Towards the radius. Okay, so if I put that over there, well, that doesn't work because the notch is where my thumb is, and that's not towards the radius. If I put that, well, that doesn't work because my elbow doesn't bend that way unless it's broken. Okay, so this is a right ulna. Start with the skeleton. Okay, for the radius, I'll tell you how I tell. So if you look at the distal end of the radius, see how this end's kind of just flat? Do you see how this side is a hump? I put the hump part, that goes posterior. See hump versus flat? So the hump part here has to go posterior. And then there's a little notch here at the distal end called the ulnar notch. Guess which way it has to face? Towards your ulna. So if I put it over here, well, that doesn't work because the notch is over here where my finger is. If I put that way, well, that doesn't work because now the hump's in the front and it's supposed to be posterior. So this is a right radius. The hump is posterior. The notch faces towards my ulna. Okay, for radius, I remember 3 R's. 1 R is for radius. The other R is round head. And then the third R, the radius rotates. Watch this. Do you see how the radius is rotating over the ulna? This is the radius right here. Do you see that? So radius, round head, rotates. Okay, what types bones are all these long. Okay, name these bones. Carpals, type. Short. Name these bones. Metacarpals, type. Long. Name these bones. Phalanges, type. Long. What's weird about the thumb? Close. It only has 2 phalanges where the rest of these have 3. It just has proximal and distal phalange. It doesn't have proximal, middle, and distal phalange. Okay, for the carpals, do you want the nice or dirty saying? Huh?
Is that really a question?
I know, right? It's not that bad. Okay, so this is starting at your thumb, and there's 2 rows of carpals. There's a proximal row, there's a distal row. So it's thumb to pinky, thumb to pinky. Thumb to pinky 4, thumb to pinky 4 bones. Okay, so the saying is, some lovers try positions. Some lovers try positions that they can't handle. Some lovers try positions that they can't handle. So scaphoid, lunate, triquetral, pisiform. Some lovers try positions. Okay, that they can't handle. I think that's it. So there's many vertebrae back there. There's some free vertebrae that are just loose in Ziploc bags back there. There's arms, legs, scapula, ribs, sternum, all back there. You can grab any of these you want to use too. Leave the coccyx and hyoid here if you just want to borrow it, then just stick it back in the bag when you're finished. So you guys can use any of these that you want. So same thing as last time, do not freak out. Just take a bone, what's the name of this bone, what type of bone is it right or left, and then find everything on the list. And just keep repeating it till you get it. Get the next bone, same thing. What name, what type, find all the stuff on it. Keep repeating it till you get it. All right, grab whatever you want to look at. Grab some pointers so I don't have to yell at you.